Today, for Devotions with Daniella, we are reading from the first book of Daniella, Uncultured, about growing up in the Children of God cult and going into the cult of the U.S. Army. This is a chapter called You're Not James Bond. You don't want to be 25 and divorced, do you? Jeff's steely voice sliced through the phone. He knew exactly how to wound me, how to twist the knife. But I wasn't Daniella, the cult baby, anymore. I had a new identity, U.S. Army lieutenant. I mattered. The more I pictured my future, the life I was building for myself, and what I wanted to do, see, and experience, the more I realized I didn't see Jeff anywhere in it. Since we'd posed as bride and groom in our wedding portraits 2 years prior, we'd been apart, spending maybe a month total together in the same city. I'd had time to think about why everyone in our life had said we shouldn't get married, that we'd been far too young to know what we really wanted, and our overly rushed courtship and ceremony started to make me feel like I had been tricked, somehow coerced into a life I didn't want before I could change my mind. I suspected he was more interested in sleeping with men than sleeping with me. He was an ex-gay. I'd never minded that at first. It was a relief to not be the object of desire. But I'd started to realize that any time I felt beautiful, he tried to take me down a peg. When I'd beat him on a timed run, he'd point out the flab near the tops of my thighs that could be improved. After my valedictorian speech, he'd said the other guy's talk had been funnier. Something in me clicked, and I no longer saw his comments as just Jeff, like me, always striving for perfection. I began to see that I would never be enough for him. He wanted to be married to me, even though it was clear that wasn't what I wanted. It was almost like he wanted to collect me, to own me. And something I'd seen in him scared me. I finally admitted to myself, releasing the quiet dread I had locked in my heart. I didn't want my career tied to his. The life I'd imagined with him. The one I'd glimpsed and decided to grab because I thought it would be good enough. Felt like a prison. I didn't know if I could undo it, but I couldn't live with myself if I didn't try. No, babe, I said, turning my voice cold and hard like I'd learned to do while briefing. I want to be divorced at 23. His reply was a simple no. One syllable across the phone line that stretched from Arizona to Louisiana. For once, I had nothing to say. I sat in a long, cold silence. I want to be married, he said flatly, not a hint of romance in his voice, and you're my wife, my beautiful, perfect wife. You can't force me to stay married to you, Jeff. I can. More silence. He meant it. Our marriage was like chess, always was, without me ever realizing it. I tried to think a few moves ahead, the way I'd been trained. What can he do to me? What does he know that I don't know? I was worried. I picked up the new smartphone I had just bought, the one I hadn't told him about yet, though I couldn't have said why. Clicked record and placed it near the BlackBerry we were speaking on. If you try to divorce me, I'll tell your commander you're having an affair with a classmate from officer school. He named a specific one. He knew we were still friends. I swallowed hard. You'd lie to try to force me to stay married to you? Why? My chaplain told me that it's God's will for people to stay married and try to work on it. Jeff, I said, you're not any more of a Christian than I am. Wow, I'd never said that out loud. Now it's recorded. It was a thought I knew I'd have to revisit, but later. You won't be able to prove that you're not having an affair, and they'll kick you out. You're an entry-level officer, he spelled it out slowly. Nobody will believe you, and nobody will want the trouble. I knew the equation. Women plus support branch was lesser than male plus combat soldier. Everyone knew who always won the he said, she said game. Suddenly, I saw the parallels I'd missed before. The ways Jeff resembled the cult uncles. The ones who needed to control everything and everyone. The ones who were untouchable, no matter their crimes. I wondered if that's what my friends saw and tried to tell me. I wondered if the familiarity was what, in some sick way, drew me to him. I shuddered. Jeff, I want a divorce, I said. I hung up my phone, my hands shaking as I took out the battery. I'd just committed a crime, and I knew it. As an intelligence officer, even one who hadn't been certified yet, I knew enough to know it was highly illegal for an agent of the military to surveil an American citizen or record them against their knowledge. Adultery is also illegal in the military. And if Jeff followed through on his threat, I could have been court-martialed. At worst, jailed. At best, quietly discharged to make me go away without scandal for the group. Either way, I might be forked yet again. My military career ended because of his false accusation. It could work the way it often did when legislative justice is applied selectively and with bias, especially regarding issues of sex in the Army, the ultimate boys' club. But Jeff's threats were illegal too. Knowingly leveling a false accusation against a military officer is a crime under the military justice system also. And I held the proof of his plan. I was an officer too, even if I was entry level. I filed for divorce, and Jeff did as he promised he would. He tried to destroy me. He submitted my phone records to my schoolhouse commander, attempting to prove my conversations with a friend showed I was guilty of a military crime. When I fought back and shared the recording, the commander dropped all the charges. He rightly assessed the incident as a messy marital situation. "Don't forget, Lieutenant Poole," the commander chided, using the name that had begun to make me shudder. "As a woman in the Army, everyone will be watching you, all the time, in everything you do. You'll need to run faster, jump higher, work harder, and keep your nose much, much cleaner than any of your male colleagues." He warned me that if something like this happened in the real Army, meaning when I got to my unit, it would be the career ender Jeff threatened. As I stood at attention to close out the brief investigation, the commander added, "You'll need to be better than your husband, too. Don't forget that." Dismissed. As far as I know, nothing ever happened to the male Lieutenant Poole for lying or for his honor violation, but I didn't pursue it. After he threatened me and after I'd seen the opportunity to use the distance to take my life back, I never took his calls again. When I had him served with divorce papers, he used the Soldiers and Sailors Civil Service Relief Act to avoid the summons, which can shut down a divorce for as long as a service member is on active duty. He seemed intent on fighting me at every turn. Conveniently, he'd left me nothing to fight over. All the debt from our ill-advised wedding, the fancy officer car he insisted we buy, the vet bills for the dog he wanted, and anything else we'd spent jointly were in my name only. He had the dog, the furniture, and all the money in the bank account. But I didn't care. I'd been left alone with nothing before, and I was better equipped to handle it than I ever had been. I wanted out. So I took all the debt and let him keep the rest. I refiled for divorce in a way that didn't require him to show up because there was literally nothing for him to contest. I wondered, when he opened that final envelope that said I was legally free of him, if he felt powerless for the very first time in his life. I gave him something he couldn't fight or bully his way out of. The golden boy, who had been raised to feel entitled to anything he wanted, couldn't have me. As quickly as I became an officer, in the blink of an eye and after the work of moment after interminable moment, I had my life and my future back. I walked from the courthouse to the Social Security office and left with a new card with a new name, my name. Taking a deep breath, I realized I had been left with something else too. Another kind of union, the Army. For better or for worse, would consume my next 3 years. I stuck the Velcro name tag with Mestenek embroidered in bold black standard Army print on the right side of my chest, above my shiny gold lieutenant rank, directly across from the U.S. Army tape nestled over my heart. I drove east toward Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and the famed 101st Airborne Division. I was assigned to the 159th, a combat aviation brigade, scheduled to deploy to Afghanistan in less than 3 months. You can get signed copies of Uncultured attached here or listen to me read it to you on Spotify Premium or anywhere else you get your audiobooks.